It's almost exactly 20 years since the Millennium Bridge fully opened, and I thought it'd be interesting to ask Norman Foster what he thought the impact of the bridge had been on the surrounding area. So Norman, when the bridge was built, a lot of the conversation was about the engineering, but at a recent celebration of the 20th anniversary, a lot more conversation was about the impact that it's had to the areas, both north and south of the river. Did you imagine that this slim bridge was going to have quite the impact that it has?
Aware that it would have an impact, yes, for certain. We did an extraordinary exercise with space syntax, which looked in computer terms at proximity, connectivity, and we knew that it would have a powerful impact. We thought 4 million people a day would cross it. The reality is that twice as many people, 8 million, crossed it. And the economic consequences from that have been quite extraordinary. Twice as many jobs created, not 1,500, 3,000. Attendance at St. Paul's up by 40%. There was a hotel in SE1, there are now 60 hotels. Residential values shot up around the bridge. So a powerful social generator.
And first the City of London was against the idea, but then it came round, and we're told that it actually saved the City of London from the Labour government because it seemed to be so much more collaborative because of the bridge.
We'd no idea of that, but I like the thought that it did, as it were, rescue a group who were opposed to the bridge. So the fact that the bridge saved an extraordinary constitution, the City of London, I think is good news. But I think the really big story is, in one sense, about the innovation of the bridge. It's the first of its kind. The bridge is a symbol. But perhaps the idea in a democratic society that against initial political opposition, it's possible for a group of people to not only create the idea, but at every turn, when confronted by a difficulty, how are you going to fund it, to create a charity that would pay for it and for it to be finally realized. That, I think, is extraordinary story.
And Barbara Newman, who was the chairman of the City Planning Committee at the time, she still hasn't come to terms with it and talks about it's a well-used bridge but not of much use to the people of Southwark. It's only really for the Tate. What do you think about that?
An opinion is a proposition. And if you can't test that, it becomes maybe it's a probability, improbability. But when you have hard-edge statistics, then that's really fake news. I mean, it's just denial. The reality is something else.
The other thing she didn't like, or she said it would be there would be a lot of views, but actually many more people have seen views of St. Paul's because of the bridge.
Well, there was this thing, it would block the view. It was even suggested that the bridge should be diagonal. But I don't think there's any bridge in the history of bridges which doesn't go the shortest, most direct route from one side of a river, gorge or valley. So we did some checks, and passing boats, if you happen to be looking at the right direction at the right time and everybody was looking, it would be 1,000 people a day for a few seconds. The reality is that everybody, 8 million, they have that view every day.
What is it that fascinates you about bridges?
I think it's the idea that a bridge is more than the physical connection. It starts to be symbolic of a place. We think of Golden Gate Bridge as the gateway to the west of San Francisco. We think of Sydney Harbour Bridge, emblematic like the Opera House. So it becomes, in a way, the symbol of a place, and that is really very powerful. And you mentioned the Mio Viaduct. In some ways, a bridge is almost a philosophical statement. I found myself being pushed to the forefront by the engineers, notwithstanding that I don't profess to have engineering knowledge. I'm an architect, I'm not a specialist. But I made the point that the other competitors had created a big span over a very, very small river. And I suggested in the introduction that the bridge was a connection between two plateaus, 4.5 kilometers apart, and therefore it should march across the landscape in the most minimal way, and along that way, just crossing this very, very small river. And then, of course, that would open up to a jury of specialists. So in all, the bridge is more than just the physical crossing, and it can even generate a city.
The Millennium Bridge becomes a place, actually. It's a place where people dwell and enjoy the city.
It's a public space. It is for pedestrians. It opens up, as we've said, the vista of St. Paul's, connects the Tate, and most importantly, gives a new perspective on the river itself.
Congratulations on a
Well,
wonderful
it's
contribution
really
to London.
congratulations. It's really congratulations to everybody who made it possible.